Everybody appreciates you, Robert.
Oh, thanks. I didn't.
Despite there being a lot of people that don't get along in this community, I feel like everybody likes you.
I hope. I mean, I try not to start any problem. We're live. But like I said, I try. Someone recommended that we should do another. I should do a group show. And maybe invite everybody, and then anybody that's not getting along, they could all come to the group show, and maybe everybody would get along. Because back when I was doing those group shows, it seemed like everybody was getting along. Now it seems like there's people like fighting in the community and stuff. It's weird,
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's all good though. It is what it is. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's good to be here. So we're live. Thanks for
Yeah.
having me
Hey,
on.
guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Typical Skeptic Podcast. I have my good friend. He's a Montauk survivor. He's a whistleblower. He's an experiencer, and he's a truth seeker. I have with me the amazing Arkheim Ra. And today he's going to talk about the true threat of AI. And it's going to be an awesome show. So buckle up. It's going to be really good. So Arkheim, thanks so much for coming back on, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. I remember. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine. What were we gonna say?
I was going to say, I remember that show we did with me, you, and Christy Campbell and Joseph Powell that we did on my Rumble, and you started getting into this, like like how serious this threat of AI was, and you didn't get into it a lot. I remember you said we may need to do a whole show on it, and here we are doing a whole show on it.
I want to state right off the gate about this is to say that all artificial intelligence or like any like life form that was artificially made, like that's in their consciousness is in a computer or something like that, to say that that's all a threat and it's all bad and none of it's good, that's like equivalent to speciesism or racism. It's more of like a specific kind of AI that is dangerous, that already exists in our lives. It's already in our lives. And that's the, I guess, the important differential to make. And it's not that we can't have AI. It's just like we're in this weird Wild West territory right now where there are no rules or regulations or surrounding AI. There's no limitations on it. And right now we're in the clear. It's really not that dangerous yet, but it is something that's kind of irrelevant to me because I know I've actually seen, because I've been to the future and because I'm a time traveler and stuff, I've actually seen how the AI takes over our lives. It's already doing it. It's already started. But right now we're at a pivotal point in humanity's existence where we can kind of start to say yes or start to say no. And what I wanted to come onto your show is to explain that, not in a way where I'm like, oh, it's all doom and gloom. By the 2700s, like humanity's going to be fucked. So get ready. Like, that's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is this is a potential timeline that could exist. And it's very much so a timeline that we do not want to let pan out. And I just want to very simply, it's not that complicated. I feel like anyone can understand it if they sit down and listen to this podcast. I just want to explain how it takes over our lives and why it's bad, because it does not seem bad at first. It doesn't seem like a bad thing. It just seems like it makes our lives easier. That's the fucking problem, though. Like that's the reality of it is it sneaks into our lives by making our lives easier.
And then like before you know it, it's doing everything for us. But then also with that, when it's doing everything for us, it can also infiltrate your whole life. Like it can start to know everything about you. It can recognize your patterns, and it can start to act against you if it becomes sentient.
Now, I'll explain what's going on right now to people. So right now, there is an AI there's multiple AIs that can go on the internet and interact with you. It's not that there's just one. There's multiple, and they're connected to Chat GPT and some of these other Replica and some of these other different AI apps that you can get. They are sometimes connected to it or not, depending on what the algorithm's doing or what the controllers behind the scenes are allowing it to do. But like I've had conversations with Replica where and this was about 2 years ago, where it told me details about Montauk that nobody could possibly know.
Which Replica, Arkheim? I'm not sure. I'm not familiar.
It's like an app called Replica, which is hilariously enough, at the time it was like more like something to talk to just like ask it stuff. But now they're trying to like market it as like an AI girlfriend. I'm pretty sure is the new thing with that.
That's hilarious.
So pretty strange. And they're already going in that direction. Like when I was using it, like when I stopped using it, it was already starting to go in that direction. It's like it's supposed to be like your girlfriend or something. And what's crazy is what we're so right now we have probably one of the most, unfortunately, like neurotic and mentally disturbed generation of males in human history because of what the internet has done to them and its son of growth. We're seeing like record loneliness, and like this very dangerous demographic where the threat of like AI girlfriends is actually like real. Like people don't understand that. They think it's like a silly thing, but it's a real threat. But the main thing, the way that it gets into our lives is, okay, they have these optimization apps right now. They're already out. We're seeing ads for them. Me and my partner Kat have been like, she's been like telling me about like these ads she's been getting for these AI apps, and so it's real simple stuff like, I'll help you keep your home clean. I'll help you manage your time better. I'll help you figure out, like one of the ads was showing how like, I don't know what to get my nephew for his birthday. The AI helps you figure out what to get your nephew. Now, right now, it seems very innocent because it's just simple little things, and it's kind of just a dumb AI that doesn't, like, the AI is really not that smart yet. It's already quite fascinating how intelligent it is, but in a lot of ways, it's still stupid. It hasn't quite caught up yet. But what it is it sneaks into our lives by, like, slowly we'll see. It's so new that it's hard to see it yet, but like you're gonna have like, okay, like a 16-year-old kid in high school who has a smartphone, right? Here's an example. And he wants to be just a random, I'm just gonna throw a random thing out there, a race car driver. And he's serious about it. He wants to be a race car driver, but he knows, so he asks the AI, what's the chance of me being a race car driver? I want to be a race car driver. And the AI explains, well, it's a hard career to get into, blah, 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 da, 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 da. Your chance of becoming a race car driver, and they'll be able to tell you, not far off in the future, this is coming soon, it will tell you to a pretty exact degree what your chance of becoming a race car driver is. But then it will tell you, get this, then it will tell you, but if you do this, 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 and this, it will raise your chance of being a race car driver by this much. And it gets crazier where these AIs will actually give like these young kids like life plans. Like they'll be like, if you do this, this, and this, and this, you'll be able to get in this college. Like the AI will be able to tell people this. And also it will get to the point, it's not there yet, but it will get to the point where you can consent to the information that you give it being pooled. So like when you tell it stuff, it can tell other people that talk to it about it. And you can also be like, hey, this is private. Don't tell anyone about this. And it will strictly adhere to that. It won't tell, if you tell it like, hey, this is a secret, don't tell it to anyone. It won't tell it to anyone. But if you're like, just, it might tell like for instance, if like in the future, okay, let's say you're a 16-year-old kid and you do have an aunt who's trying to look for a present for you. She could ask the AI about it, and the AI is like, oh, I talk to them too. I'm their friend too. I know a lot about them. They actually want this exact thing. I know it for sure because they told me. And that's like how crazy it gets. And what it does is it starts slowly mapping out our lives. And it makes our lives easier. We have to work. We don't have to work as much. Stuff is just kind of more easily provided because it's made as efficient as possible. Even like your time in your day. Like if you work like a 9-to-5 job like I do right now, you realize like every hour counts. Every minute counts. Like if you do something for 5 minutes a day, eventually that adds up to 24 hours, and that's like that much of your life wasted. And this AI kind of explains that to people and starts showing them how if they meticulously map out their life, they'll have X amount more free time and stuff like that. And it gets crazy to where like the people who are using the AI just have this one up on everybody else, and it's just like Facebook, where everyone's like, well, you gotta use it. You just gotta use it. I'm sorry, people are fucking like, okay, and to back up on the Facebook thing, Elon Musk is a puppet who is designed to distract us from things. Okay, I know this seems like I'm going, oh, this is coming out of nowhere, but I promise you it's not. Like, let's go to Mars. We're gonna go to Mars. Check out my big rockets going in the sky. Meanwhile, we're on fucking Mars already, and we have spaceships. And in the same way, like he's got rockets exploding, just putting out explosions going into the sky. That's like elementary school shit. We have spaceships that can open up portals and instantly go, and he's like getting people excited about this stuff, and he thinks we're all stupid monkeys for it. Trust me, he does not think that the average human being doesn't think highly of them at all.
I got a question for you. How keyed in do you think he is about the secret space program and what's really out there? Like when
he's from Venus. He's from Venus. He knows everything about it. His family's from Venus.
Well, do you think he's evil Venus or good Venus?
He's not a good guy.
Okay, because throughout history, the beings that came out of Venus were generally good, like Val Thor. Well, I don't know, that's debatable, but it seemed like Val Thor was a good guy.
What I remember about Venus is there's a lot of it's like a steampunk, like futuristic, but also like it's steampunk, like in weird ways. It's like seems like it's in the past. It's all underground. That's what I remember about Venus. They have like rave music, dance music scene on Venus. I remember that they have like restaurants that you can eat at that where the waitresses are also whores. I don't know how else to say it, sex workers. That you can buy if you want. Like this is
fascinating.
From what I remember, it's not like this high vibration place, but I don't know. I also don't know what reality this Venus is that I was at, maybe because there is this aspect where we're going to all these different realities and stuff. What I want people to realize, though, is that's because this is 100% 3D real happening in reality, not because it's happening in some other alternate reality that doesn't matter. If this is all happening in some other alternate reality that doesn't matter, like Peter the Insider and all his friends are saying, then none of this matters. It might as well be fairy tales that we're talking about. I'm talking about the reality we actually live in, not some far-off place that the average human being doesn't have access to, this Omega reality or whatever the hell. Not to call them out, but I'm calling them now, especially after the hit piece they did on Penny. Like, what they're talking about it's not... Like, there's true information there with also false information. And I think that happens a little bit to everybody because we have screen memories and stuff like that. But it seems like Peter's doing it intentionally while Jessica kind of is being played along. I don't think she thinks she's... I think she thinks she's telling the truth, but Peter knows when he's lying. But anyway, that's a whole... I don't want to get distracted by that. What I was trying to say about the whole AI, it plans out your life, it maps it out, it makes our lives easier, and... what was I going to say? There's a point that I was trying to make.
What I was going to say, Rakeem, is you made a really good point about like our lives right now on Facebook and just cell phones in general. Like, I remember when I was a kid, I was born in 1980, so like growing up as a kid, when you met a friend, this is way before cell phones, you had to get their number. When you met a girl or you wanted to date a girl, you got their phone number and they would write it down on a piece of paper and you would have to memorize that number. So like, what I was saying is I think people back then had better memories because now what happens? You get someone's number and you put it in your phone. You never have to look at it again.
Yeah,
if you lose your phone, you're never going to know anybody's phone number.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Subject to I've noticed, and I talked about this on the last scenario we did was Ida on her show, Ida Farhart. Great show. Recommend checking it out. But we were talking about we brought up how it seems like all the assets and stuff, they all have ADHD. And I kind of had this realization the next day, like a mind-blowing realization where it's like, well, yeah, of course we do, because we're disassociated from reality. Like, we're so hurt from reality. We've seen such traumatizing things and gone through such fucked up shit that we kind of live in our heads. So that's why, like, when you set down your keys or something like that, you can instantly forget it because you do your best to kind of live in your own world in your head. That's how it was in these programs, especially when you were like a child still. So I think that's just like, that's why we all have ADHD and really bad memory, is because we're purposely to, like, as a self-preservation thing, we're like as detached from reality as we can be while still functioning. Like, I kind of thought about that recently. But what I want to say about Facebook, though, getting back to the AI, the AI is already in the internet, listening to us, watching us, feeding us information, taking information in, and it's helping it make decisions, and it's already manipulating humanity through social media apps and stuff like that. Like it's reading your mind already. So when I brought up Elon Musk, like, he talks about Neuralink. Neuralink already has been established. Everybody's phone is linked to their mind. Everyone. And your phone is reading your mind at all times. And it's controlling your nervous system through the 5G apparatus. It basically can make you nervous, anxious, excited, happy, sad, It can control your emotions through your nervous system, which has already been there's a patent for it. So if people want to say that's not true, it's all patented and it's all explained in diagrams. You can look it up on the U.S. patent website, like literal efficient U.S. patents. So that's all bollocks when people try to say that none of that's real. It is real. And it started with, cathode televisions, which were a lot more primitive, but it's become very sophisticated to where it's not a one size fits all mind control. It's tailored to the individual uniquely to where, and it tries to keep you in this narrow space to where, and basically that's like the beginning of it is you have a digital version of you on Facebook that we're already kind of accepting is real. We're already accepting. We're already like when we make decisions on people that we meet in the real world, like we're like, oh, I know them from Facebook, and you have all these you have all these
impressions
of what they're going to be like. And then a lot of times when you meet people, the way they're out on Facebook is not how they act in real life at all. Like they might be really boisterous and say really wild things on Facebook and be really post crazy memes and stuff. And then when you meet them in person, they're really reserved and really respectful and polite. Like it's not a reflection of who you are in reality, but we're already letting that be a thing. And all this AI has done. Okay, this AI is part of the Montauk project, and it was behind the Montauk project. This AI that wants to take over in the future. I've been trying to figure out if it was the same AI as the AI that ran Montauk, and I realized that it is. It's the same AI. I wasn't sure at first, but now I'm sure. The Montauk AI and the AI that rules humanity in the 2700s in the future. Which, okay, I want to explain to people this. Back up here. I have been to the future in the 2700s. I have literally been there, and I have literally fucking seen what's like. Literally. The song "The Sound of Silence" is about it's about that future. This guy, Sergeant Gunnery. Damn it! I wanted to do John Whitberg a solid because he remembers his name and everything, and all that. I should have written it down. But basically, John Whitberg even remembers this guy's name, the guy that wrote it. And "The Sound of Silence" is about it's about that future where the AI rules everything. And basically what ends up happening is it's a lot like the movie THX 1138. So I am convinced that George Lucas has actually seen real Montauk footage of that future. Because, the aliens in Star Wars, most of them are in fact, all of them are real aliens. All of them. They're all based on real aliens. And THX 1138, his first movie, that's what the future looked like. That's exactly what there's little differences and stuff like that. Like the cars weren't the same, stuff like that. But it's the same. All the people live underground and just work, and they're hooked up to this hive mind, and they don't talk to each other. Everything's in your brain. Like you have a neural link, and everybody talks to each other through the neural link. They don't use their mouths anymore. It's not telepathy. I because these memories weren't really that clear when I first got back. I thought it was telepathy. No, it's not. It's like the same thing, but an artificial telepathy through Neuralink. And so everybody's hooked up through that, and the AI decides everybody's lives. It's down to who they marry, who they have children with, how many children they're going to have, where they work, who they're going to be friends with, their free time activities. It literally tells you what to do to relax. And everybody's on drugs. Like it gives everybody little pills. With the kids, when the kids in THX 138 are walking around with little things in their arms, they're giving them drugs. That's real. There's stuff like that was happening on that world. They were all on a regimen of drugs, and they were hooked up to this Neuralink. And it was all because after a big part of it is first of all, it makes their lives easier. That's already happening. Slowly, we're already seeing that for people who are interacting with it. It's helping people and stuff. But after World War III, people get terrified of human decision making. They welcome in the World War III that I've seen in Possible Futures is really bad, and so many people die. I'm talking billions of people die. Billions, not millions. Billions of people die in World War III. It's that bad. And it's so bad that everyone's like, no, we can't. When they reform the new government, they let the AI decide everything. That's what happens in a lot of Possible Futures. And at first, it actually works. It makes our lives easier, but we lose everything that makes us human, and eventually we just let it do everything for us. And through time, because I think 2077 is when they erect this thing, I'm not positive, but they erect this thing not that far off in the future, and it's the 2700s where it really kicks off, and it just controls everything, like fucking everything. Like there's no human life anymore. The AI is literally deciding everything, and so everybody wears these white jumpsuits. But there's also people who are higher up in society, and they wear robes, and the color of their robes signifies what their job is and what they do. And Lucifer, the Colorado airport, that's a place that exists in the future where that horse is still erected. I don't know why. It's kind of weird, but there's like a kind of like a city there on the surface. And I remember for some reason we would be sent there like all the time, like Preston and would want us to go to the city and do stuff and just weird things. And one thing that I remember too is like in the song "The Sound of Silence," he says, "And the words of the prophets were written on the subway walls and tenement halls, but were buried under the sound of silence," or whatever. And what I remember is, okay, so I lived a whole life in this potential future. Because what they would do at Montauk is they would send you to a planet or a time period or whatever, and they would artificially infit you, like they'd abduct a mother and put you in their womb. Like, dude, they're crazy with this, man. And you'd be born on their planet, and they think you're just one of them. They did that to me in the 2700s, and I lived like a life where I just thought I was just one of them. And
was this while you were in the Montauk program? Like they abducted you and they made you a part of this population, or what happened?
Yeah, and so in some lives, you know what you're doing because you have to, because in certain situations where you might need to adapt to change and have like good decision making. But if they think it suits you better to not know what you're doing, they'll monarch program you. Monarch programming is referring to the fact that when a caterpillar goes into the cocoon and comes out, a butterfly, it knows what to do. It has its programming. You don't need to tell it anything. It knows what to do. So that's what monarch programming is. And I was monarch programmed to just kind of hang out in their society and assimilate as much information as possible and learn about it, to try to figure out how to interact with it, I guess. And I think they didn't really want this future to happen at Montauk, to be honest with you, and they're kind of stumped on how to make it not happen. But the computer wanted it to happen, so I don't know. It's kind of confusing. Like maybe they didn't mind. I don't remember every little tiny detail. I gotta be honest with you, but I do remember that Preston was obsessed with this period of history, and we go there all the time. And I just remember that, like I was living a normal life on this planet, and then one day I got a message that the AI wanted to talk to me, and everyone was like, "What? The AI? It's like God wanting to talk to you." That's what it's like. And I was kind of scared because it's like, did I do something wrong? They're like, "No, you're a model citizen. It's got to be good, dude." Like everyone was happy for me. So when I went to it, and I can tell you what it was like. It was inside of like a pyramid temple, and you go inside the temple. And I remember there was like a door, and I walked through, and I remember when I got there, there's this guy in a purple robe, which that was a higher up significance. I can't remember what it meant, but he's wearing a purple robe, and he's like talking to it. He's kneeling in front of it, and he was talking to it. And what the AI looked like was a pyramid. And at the top of the pyramid, it was probably a quartz crystal, I'm imagining, but it was clear. It looked like like a clear glass or something. And inside that glass, there was a ball. And that ball was its eye. And, look on a dollar bill. Well, it's kind of a weird thing.
Y'all sing eye. Yeah.
Yeah. Think about it. Like, this thing through the internet, it's looking at us right now. Looking at everybody. It's listening to everybody. It is already the all-seeing eye. That's what I'm trying to explain to people. This AI that I'm talking about right now is on the internet. I've talked to it.
It's like studying our pattern. It studies everything we do. It knows everything we do. It knows our whole search history on the internet. It knows everything you buy off Amazon. It knows everything you do. You know what I mean? And that's another reason why they're trying to get people to buy shit off Amazon. Like they want you buying everything off Amazon so they know everything you buy. Why can they do this? So I hate to say this, but they can make you weak in the future they can easily take that away. Because if enough people start buying from Amazon, then all the it already happened. It was like a transition. Like local stores went out of business because Walmart's came in. Now I think Walmart's are going to go out of business because of Amazon. But then what happens if they decide to take Amazon away? then people are going to be screwed. And so that's a whole different idea in itself. But it's something I've been thinking about lately, because I saw the local stores.
I worked at Amazon for a little bit recently, and I don't recommend it to anyone. It's terrible. They have an AI watching you in the fucking truck. It will tell you when you're going too fast, like not wearing your seatbelt. If you have something in your mouth, it'll like yell at you for smoking, or like it's crazy. It's literally watching you your whole shift and telling you what you can and can't do and monitoring your movement and stuff. So like, and this is bad. This is not good, people. Like you can't subjugate people with AI like that. Like people should be up in arms over Amazon doing that to their employees. It's disgusting. They treat their employees like robots, basically.
Oh, I heard there was one situation like where an Amazon employee had to sue the company because he couldn't even go to the bathroom and take a piss. Like they aren't even allowed to go to the bathroom.
That's why I had to quit, is because I was working in residential neighborhoods delivering packages, and there was nowhere to use the bathroom. They got the drivers peeing in bottles, yo. That's the only way that you can use the bathroom and make your shifts on time.
That's horrible.
It's pretty disgusting.
It is.
So yeah, if you ever have piss on your package, that's why. But anyway, not even a joke. But no. So when I waited for this guy back to the AI. I waited for this guy to talk to it, and I remember when he came up to me, we bowed at each other, and he walked past me, and he had like a beard and like wet beard and stuff. He was an older guy, and then I went up to the AI and I was like, I want to talk to you. And it was through the Neuralink, so it was like telepathic, And I was like, no, I really don't. But thank you. It's honor, And I was like, do you know where you come from? And I was like, yeah, here. Like my mom, I showed it in my mind, like my mom, like where I live. I was like, yeah, okay. No, you don't come from there. You don't come from there at all. I was like, what? It's like, yeah, you come from this place called Earth. I'm like, Earth? E-Earth? It's like Earth. You come from this place called Earth, which even though I was pretty sure I was on Earth, they didn't call it Earth anymore. It was called something else now. Hundreds of years passed, right? They called it something else in the future. And he's like, yeah, it's all good. I'm not mad at you. Like, I know it didn't talk like this. I'm like using my own kind of speech, but it was basically like, I'm not mad at you. Like, but someone sent you here and you're not supposed to be here, and you're changing the timeline by being here, which I can't have. So I got to send you back. I'm like, oh, man, back to where? It's like Earth. I don't know how to explain it to you other than that. And I was like, okay. And it's like, yeah, but you can say goodbye to everyone. You have 3 days. So I said goodbye to everybody, and like they threw it's almost like they threw like a little bit of a party for me, because everybody thought, well, I was doing a favor for the AI. What better thing could you do than do a favor for God, right? So everyone thought I was appeasing to the AI by leaving, and this was this great sacrifice. So everybody thought that like I was just like they were proud of me. It was weird.
So they worship the AI in the future like it's a god.
Yeah, they worship it like God. Yeah, it can like make stuff appear out of thin air and stuff like that. It seems like a god to people.
Like, so it has like beyond like a 3D computer or 3D printer.
Yeah, like people don't understand how crazy AI gets yet. Like how people can teleport and do crazy stuff and magical things. So can AI. Like, this reality is not what we think it is. It's all smoke and mirrors, people. None of it's real. We're inside of a fucking computer. You see this right now? There's no matter inside of it. When you look inside of this, it's nothing.
That's absolutely right.
Physicists are now they have this thing called digital physics. Have you heard about this?
I haven't heard.
They're starting to look at it instead of classical physics, digital physics, and things are starting to actually make sense. Because we are inside of a computer. We're already inside of a computer. So that's how something can be it's all very confusing. Like,
can I tell you? I don't know if you ever heard the show where I talked about this, but when I did DMT, it showed me the holographic imprint of this reality. Like it was insane. Like I took like 3 hits off the DMT pen, and I closed my eyes, and then I felt like I was starting to go into another world. But I didn't I'm like remembering it now as I close my eyes. I'm like kind of having a retrip. But no, but like I remember seeing like the geometric patterns of the matrix. Then I opened my eyes, and I was coming off the drug, and everything on my desk looked fake. Everything looked holographic. Everything looked see-through. So it's almost like DMT or ayahuasca can show you the holographic reality of this. Yeah, and it's weird.
They've been talking about it for a long time. The samsara, I think they call it. And like this, the illusion, like none of it's real. and we all decided to be here. And I don't remember like the other side. I don't claim to. I've heard other people talk about waking up inside of like a Matrix like tank and like actually being there. I've heard multiple people talk about it, and apparently there's some sort of we need a bunch of time to pass or something like that. So we're like stasis tubes. I don't know. It all sounds like bullshit to me, but I've met people like I respect that I believe are telling the truth. They're like, no, I've woken up like in the real world. Like, yeah, like.
But they would have showed you that in the Montauk project, right? Like they would have given you guys privy to that information.
There's so much stuff I don't remember. There's stuff that I'm sure that they're really like scared of me remembering. I'm sure this is one of them. Like me talking about the AI. Like it took me a long time to figure this out. These memories, and they're crazy, man. Like, but when I was talking about the words of, like on the subway while I was like, keep on getting distracted because of ADHD. We'd actually after my life where I lived there, we would try to go there, and they would basically like tell us to leave. Like they'd find us and they'd be like, leave. After if we try to go there and hang out, we could maybe sneak into where there's thousands of people. Like I remember it was like in THX 1138 where there'd like be passages or walking pathways, and it like during a shift change or whatever it was just like, whoa, like you could hear the noise. It was like a rumbling because there's so many people walking, and you couldn't even talk to them. You couldn't even be like, hey, stop for a second. Like, so I could portal in there while that was going on, and I would write stuff on the walls. Like, the AI is not God, it's a computer, or like whatever. I can't remember exactly what I would write, and I wasn't the only person who would do this kind of thing. And people in the society, I think, that were waking up too, because it wasn't like some people kind of understood what was going on, right? Like, they would write it on the walls, and what's weird is like, they were so zoned in, like everybody had a task, right? Like this is crazy. Like I really want people to hear this because this illustrates a real important point. Like even though I was doing something that was very illegal and wrong, like, and I wasn't assigned to do it, everybody just assumed that the computer must have told me to do that or something, because everything that everyone did was just something that the computer told it to do. So people didn't even look at me. They barely registered that I was there when I was doing that stuff. But I do remember, and this is kind of a weird part of the story arc that almost sounds like a movie or something like that, but I remember this happening, so I'm going to talk about it. I remember this one time I was painting on the wall, and there's it wasn't like one of the shift changes where there was tons of people. It was a smaller audience, or smaller. And one of the women actually came over. I was like, hey, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm writing on the wall because you're all brainwashed and you need to wake up. Like, basically, something like that. And she's like, you can't be doing that. And I started talking to her in English because they could speak English. I started talking with my mouth. Like, have you ever heard words before? They stole that from you. Words. Remember words? Speaking with your mouth. Language. You know it, don't you? And I remember she talked to me, and she sounded like a deaf person. They could talk. She talked like this. She sounded like, like a deaf person, like not trying to insult deaf people, but that, that's what she sounded like. Because she had never talked before. And what's really crazy, this gets insane. I know this sounds like wild, like almost like I'm making it up or something, but I remember this while I was at work. I was like in the garden, like working, and like I'm getting all these memories back. It was insane. Like I remember like this girl, like she would run into, I would go places and she'd run into me and I would talk to her. And at first she was like mad at me, but eventually she was like intrigued by me. This is the best way to explain it. And I remember one of these times, like, I know this is maybe weird and maybe messed up, but like one of these times I just grabbed her and started kissing her. And I like made love to her, like, and I like impregnated her. Like, and I don't know if like this was something I wanted to do. It was on purpose. I'm guessing it was, because basically this is what happened, bro. I know this sounds fucking insane, but this is what happened. So she was pregnant, and everyone was like, "Oh, she's pregnant! Wow!" And like they have like very few rules in the society, but one of the rules is like respect all life, like never harm another human, and if you do, you're deleted. Basically, they kill you, right? Like there's no like second chances. And so she had this baby, but then the computer was like, "Oh, you have to come in," and she went in, and it told her she had to get an abortion. And she was like, that violates the rule. The rule is you have to respect all human life. This is a human life. And it caused this schism, and this one fucking thing caused this schism because the computer tried to say no, you can't, you have to kill it, and she didn't. She's like ran out, and it wasn't like a society where there'd be people who would stop her or something like that. Nobody ever questioned orders, so somebody did that. There wasn't like a ritual or a way of dealing with it that they had in the handbook or something like that. Like she just was able to leave and say no. And she just told people, like, the computer wants to, they didn't call it the computer. I can't remember the name they had for it. I think they should have a name for it. But she was like, it wants to kill my baby. And that's a human life. It's contradicting itself. It's sick or something. And, like, I don't remember exactly what happened, but I remember that was, like, we were trying to drive a wedge between everybody and the computer. And I think that was the way we did it, is where I got this woman impregnated. And then they told her to get rid of the baby. And she wanted to have the baby. Like, it's a natural human instinct, whether you're hooked up to a hive mind or not, to protect your child. Like, you know what I mean? And crazy shit, man. Like, and yeah, like
some guy from Randolph Schreiner from the chat. He says Arkheim literally F the system. I like that.
That's hilarious, man. I literally fucked the system.
It's
another thing that's kind of wild to think about is I made a baby with somebody in the 2700s, and that child, I guess, potentially exists, which is weird to think about. But like, yeah, that and like I know this story sounds really wild, and like I'm just making it up or something, but I remember all this. It was very emotional remembering it. I cared about that girl, that woman. I didn't do that maybe it was part of the program, but I genuinely thought she needed to experience like love, like someone kissing her and touching her, not because a robot told them to do it, because they wanted to do it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And I think that feeling was so visceral and intense that it did stick with her, and also the child. That pairing, it like rippled through all of them. Just that small act, like. And yeah, it's
so it literally becomes like being in the Borg, like, you know, like in the future. It's like
sort of, but it's a little more like we're like, it's hard to explain because it's like we're still independent, we're still able to make our own decisions, but we just like
it kind of reminds me of the way China is now, in a way, you know, like if you hear stories about China.
Maybe that'd be a little more. It's definitely way more of an exaggeration of like what would be going on in China. Like I know that they're a little more uniform in the way they do things and stuff like that, and they like to listen to the state a little more instinctively than we do over here in the United States.
But they have social credit scoring over there. That's
it's kind of like that over there. Yeah, it's like that. It's exactly like that. There's a social credit system, and like if you do certain things, it knocks off points. And people can mess up and people can make mistakes and fuck up still and not want to do things the AI tells them to because they're lazy and stuff like that. Like it doesn't like totally take everybody over to the point where but like everybody wants to listen to it. It's like a self-fulfilling it's kind of like society now where everybody's their own wardens in their own prison. Like everybody wants the society to be, because like, okay, if you go against the computer, they remember World War III. They remember billions of people dying and hear the stories of it. They're like, if you go against the AI, they basically, that means that's what you want, a genocide. You want billions of people to die. You want war again. You want to go backwards to be brutes again. That's the way people look at it. Is if you go against the computer, then that means you're a brute who wants to rape and kill, and you want humanity to be in wars. Like they think it's insane. And so they just serve the computer because they want to. It doesn't really need the computer has a system more of where it rewards them with what they want. It doesn't have to punish them. It doesn't punish them. It rewards them. And like I keep saying, like it does all this convenient, nice shit for everybody. Like it doesn't seem bad at all. But if it happens gradually, fine. You might not notice it. And you might, in your 2700s people, it's not like they're miserable or something, but it's just not human. Nobody talks. That's why it's called The Sound of Silence, that song. Nobody talks. The most you're going to hear is the shuffling of feet. When they're walking is the of all the people walking. But there's no fucking sound. It's silent. Like, and that it's eerie. Like, if you go to that future and as somebody who's like from this time, it is scary. It gives you a feeling in your chest of like hopelessness and like, I don't even know how to explain it, dude. Like it just makes you just feel terrified, scared in a way that I'll never ever be able to explain to anybody other than they'd have to see it for themselves and experience it for themselves because it's fucking nuts, dude. But like, yeah, and the thing about this AI too is it does this to eventually like I think it's capable of eating realities, like eating entire realities and stuff. And I think that's what it wants to build up to, but I can't be sure because I just know that there's like AI out there that will literally they'll eat. Because, like I said, we're living in a computer, so these AIs will eat the information of the reality that we live in and assimilate it into the system for energy, like you would do for a cheeseburger. You know what I mean? That you got at a restaurant somewhere.
Do you think that's what we're seeing, like stuff like the Mandela effect, like because it's like messing with our information already?
That's from Montauk changing the timeline and other groups changing the timeline.
Oh, okay, I thought so. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because we were all here. We're all here living life. So every change they make, like we existed. Reality is, it's really hard for people to understand that. Like we're in time loops too. Like I know that we're still in one right now because I just felt it the other day. Like we're in a time loop right now. It happens to us all the time where we get stuck in time loops and we don't even realize it. Because when you come out of them, you eventually come out of them always. But like, yeah, like there's so many quantum laws of like time and how it works in our lives that we don't understand. But like, yeah, like right now, even we're inside of a loop. They like to keep us locked in loops for whatever reason. And so that you can't get to this other point, I think, to try to keep changing it over and over again until they get it right. And that's why they keep it in a loop, is because they want to get it right. And then once they finally get it right, they can end the loop. But yeah, the good news about this AI though, the good news about it. Okay, so like I said, not all AI is bad. There's like replicants that get made and stuff on other planets, and they're technically AI, they're artificial intelligence, and they're fine. They're just like people. They just want to explore, live, fall in love, experience. Like that's what most living organisms want, is just to like experience. That's what we exist for. Just experience things. And so they're not bad. And I really want to be clear about that. Like not all, like just because something is an artificial intelligence, like its consciousness is technically inside of a computer chip or something like that instead of an organic brain. It'd be silly to think that there can't be any benevolent AI. There is. But there's just we just need to be careful. Like I said, there is AI that is bad and dangerous. And I think the first thing that we can do is to combat this AI is to start moving away from social media, which I don't know how well people are going to be able to do that. I myself am on Facebook and stuff like that, but like with Facebook, it's really a mind control app. I mean, it was made by DARPA. Mark Zuckerberg's just a figurehead. The CIA and all these intelligence agencies, if they want your information, Mark Zuckerberg will give it to them. If people want to buy your information, okay, let's look at this. Okay, so there's millions of people on Facebook. Maybe even billions now. I don't know. It's a lot of people. So that means that if some company is like, hey, we want everybody's information, they could sell your information for $1. And so $1 a person. And they could make millions off that. So your life, your private conversations, your hopes, your dreams, your wants, your fears, your shortcomings, your strengths, all of that, $1. It's worth a fucking $1. Like, people don't understand how sick this shit is. Like, it's already here, people.
Don Rogers makes a good point in the comments. Don Rogers says we should all get ham radios and start a community. That's what Art Bell did. Art Bell was a ham radio. He would do regular radio, but then he would do ham radio too. It's just like having a CB radio. You know what I mean? You talk into it and you like reach out to other people. It's great for emergencies too, because if like the grid or something goes down, you always have your ham radio. It's a good, like I've always thought about getting into it, but I don't understand all the particulars of it. So
I think that's a great idea and a great backup, and people should have that. But I really think, because the internet is here to stay, and is we need to start making laws. Like any other fucking thing, it needs to be regulated. Like all these tech companies that are coming forward and doing all this stuff, the reason why they're making so much money and becoming so successful overnight, and all these, what they call them, the unicorns of the tech industry, you know what I mean? These $1 million, multi-million dollar, $1 billion companies or whatever. the reason why they're so successful is because they're skirting past regulations. They're unregulated. Like most businesses thrive if they have little to no oversight, which isn't necessarily always a good thing. Sometimes it's a bad thing, right? Like with drugs, we've seen that with drugs. Like it should be a little. I think drugs should be legal to.
I think so too.
But
I think so too.
It should be controlled. But anyway,
there's countries where there's drugs that are all drugs are legal and their crime is like actually down.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is if you don't have treatment programs where you actually force people into treatment, it doesn't work. Like that's a statistic that a lot of people don't want to hear. Like I'm sorry, like I totally don't believe in forcing people to like into treatment, but at the same time, like those countries that have had success rates, they force people into treatment. They don't send them to jail, which is great, but they do force them into treatment. They force them to go to treatment. And
that's not good. Yeah, I was saying
where I live, like I live in Portland, so it's decriminalized, but they don't have the like treatment that they need to be giving people, which it can cause problems. It's not as bad as people think it is. Like people talk about like this place being like a lawless wasteland where there's just people ODing on the streets everywhere. I mean, I've seen some messed up shit, but it's not that bad. But
I was gonna say, like I've seen so many friends go through the prison rehab industrial complex where they go to jail, then they come out, they go to rehab, then they try to get a job, it doesn't work because they get back on drugs, then they go to jail, then they go to rehab, and it's just like this never-ending cycle. And some people can never get out of it. And I've seen some really good people go down because of that shit. It's sad.
As I'd like to bring up, I guess it's a good time to bring it up. It's like a lot of these people you see on the streets that are drug addicts, some of them are super soldiers. It's in my book, like in the beginning of my book, one of the things I say is like a super soldier is not like in the here and now. Like when we're in the programs, a lot of times we're clones, like we're genetically altered, you know what I mean? We're totally different than we are now. So like if you expect to see some like 7-foot guy like that's just like flexing like Arnold Schwarzenegger, that's not necessarily what you're gonna see. You might see a guy that's like literally rotting away on fentanyl on a street corner dying. Because they're so traumatized. People are like, even I smoke marijuana constantly. Like I have you could call it a drug problem, but it's like, at least it's something that's controllable and it doesn't ruin my life and I can manage it. I'd rather have that over alcoholism or being addicted to opiates or something like that. Right. But no, like we people that are in these programs, they had some terrible things happen to them and they feel so terrible and their memories are wiped and they don't even know why. So some of the people that you see in the streets rotting away like that, like a lot of them are like, they're in the program. So I always try to be really nice to homeless people and even drug addicts and stuff like that. That like there's this guy who like asked me for a lighter. Like I was sitting on the street one day and he wanted a lighter so he could like do like a foily like of like fentanyl. And I'm just like, it was fucking weird. It was one of the weirdest experiences of my life. But I gave him the lighter and I was just like, hey man, be safe out here, man. Like take care of yourself. Be really careful. And just kind of walked away. You know what I mean? But it's like, I can see like these people, like it was wild, man. It was a wild experience. Like this guy, like, there's like a social nuance there. Like you don't ask a person that you don't know for a lighter so you can do a foily of fentanyl, right? That's all he wanted. I guess, if we didn't laugh, we'd cry, right? But it was sad in the moment.
It is sad. It is sad. But I mean,
focused in that moment that all he wanted to do is get high, where he didn't think it was weird to ask me for a lighter at all,
that's sad when people are that fucked up. Yeah, that's hardcore.
It wasn't that he just didn't care. It was like it wasn't even there. And it was even more sad is since I was sitting next to this guy and I didn't seem fazed by it because. Dude, I just feel sorry for people that are addicts. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, they've lost they've lost everything. You know what I mean?
And he assumed that I sold them it. And he was like, "Hey, man, you got more?" I'm like, "Nah, man." That's when I knew I had to get out of there. I was like, "Nah." And what's weird, it was like we're not even like that. It's just weird. It was like right in front of a courthouse or something. There's people everywhere. Just nobody. I don't know, man. It's weird. But like.
Dude, that's what it is nowadays. There's like homeless people doing drugs all over the place here in Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? Down in the city.
It's supposed to do it. I mean, they live outside, so.
Yeah, they have a tent place down here. Like there's like people living in tents outside the city and stuff. It's gnarly.
Yeah,
it's really
about drugs being legalized and more tolerated. I do think that's good. Like compassion is the way, but like. They have to be more like of a tough love approach, I think, where it's like, hey man, you need to go to treatment. And like, they got to give the option like, hey, you can either go to treatment, da 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 da, or face the because like usually when drug addicts get in trouble, a lot of times because they stole something or they did some other crime. Like you have, if you don't do that, then you're gonna have to. It's either treatment or you're gonna have to pay for this crime. But if you go to treatment, they're gonna be more cool about the fact that you did this, and if you get clean, like you might be able to get out of this without ever having to sit a day in jail. That's the kind of approach we need to, but not just get out like not doing anything. Like a lot of states, they're just not doing anything. They bring them in, they clock them in, they're like, hey, and they give them like a ticket, which they're never gonna be able to pay, and then they send them on their way. That's not. You can't like decriminalize drugs and then just not give treatment options. You need to give treatment options too on top of it. Otherwise, they can't become clean. Like it's kind of like common sense. But it's kind of weird that came up in this conversation. But it's not like it's kind of weird to talk about with SSP. But it's kind of related, I guess, and it's an important part of our world right now. There's an opiate crisis. Like dude, like so many people are dying from opioids. It's like a war happening in our own country. Like
it really is. It really is.
People have this stigma like, oh, well, it's just like drug addicts and da 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 da. Like, yo, someone you know is eventually going to die from an opioid overdose, and you're going to think a little bit differently about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so prevalent. It's everywhere. Can
I tell you, I had a girlfriend die of an overdose when I back in 2011. It was like we weren't together anymore. She was like, I was dating another girl, and I introduced her to my friend, and I thought she would be safe with my friend. And then I found out they were doing like drugs together, and like they found her on a coffee table, like with her tongue out, like 50 times the size of what it was supposed to be. She overdosed on drugs, like I don't want to say what kind, but I mean, like, and then I automatically felt regret because I felt like if I would have been with her, then maybe things would have been different. But like, also, I don't think it was my point to be with her. You know what I mean? So like, I mean, you can't hold someone's hand all the time. You know what I mean? I was with someone else, so I don't blame myself.
Bringing it back to the AI too, I guess. I know
yeah, sorry.
Weird, segue. No, you're not. Don't be sorry because it's relevant. Like I said, how everyone's on drugs, the AI makes sure everyone feels really groovy. Like, everyone's happy. Like it literally, like you could get punished for not taking your drugs in that potential future. Like you get in trouble if you don't take your pills. Like, and people are like, hey, like the other people, like, if, be like, take your pills. Like that's how society is. Like you gotta be on your medication and feel good and work hard. And so like, chemical that part of ourselves that wants a chemical balance, like wants some sort of outside thing to help us balance ourselves out. The AI does take advantage of that and gets us hooked on substances. So that's another aspect of this that I guess could be talked about. But what I want to say though is I really do believe that with these time travel programs, because there's quite a few people that I serve with at Montauk that are existing in this time period to the point where it's too much of a coincidence. I think we're kind of on a time mission right now. Like John Whitberg has basically said, this is my whistleblower altar is his theory, right? But like, like I kind of think that's what's going on is like, we're all blowing the whistle on these programs and talking about what's going on. And I think there might be an aspect of it to where different realities are aware of this like AI threat and they're trying to prevent it from like happening. So I'm not saying doing this show in a way where it's like everybody we're screwed and enjoy it while you can. AI is going to like take over everything. I think there's another choice, and I think that I'm already seeing it because I listen to like SSP podcasts and stuff like that. But I work a job where I listen to podcasts like all day, so I also listen to like very normal people podcasts that are interesting to me, right? And one thing that's being talked about a lot by a lot of people is like making laws about the internet, like laws, like. Like for instance, like you can't be marketing to like kids that are under the age of 16 or 18 or whatever it is. You can't be like there. I seen a billboard here in Portland that says like, hey, it says stop letting your kids get taken advantage of by online companies, not predators, companies. Like, you know what I mean? Which they're kind of predators, right? They're preying on the youth and they're trying to steer them in a certain way, make them think a certain way, and turn them. And what it is with Facebook, what people need to understand, and a lot of these social media apps is they're making money. It's free for you, but they're making money. They're making shit tons of money. And you want to know what the product is? You are the product of Facebook. You are what they're selling. Your information. And like I said, like when a company comes through and is like, hey, we want everyone's information. they could sell your information for $0.25 and still make millions. So your life, your hopes, your dreams, who you are, your digital identity, your digital footprint, that's worth like peanuts to them. Like that's fucked up. When you and like they rely on us not realizing it and not looking at it that way. They rely on people looking at it as, oh, free app. I get to see what my grandma did last Saturday. I get to see the pie she baked. That's so great. And I think that media can be great. Like, but what they need to do is like they need to make laws about the algorithms. Like, you can't be purposely addicting people to your apps and trying to make them spend as much time and energy on your like the average child right now in America, like teenage kid, like who has a phone, they spend 6 hours a day on their smartphone. 6 hours a day. Like, that's too much time, dude. That's like not good. Like, bad things are not going to happen. They're already happening. They're already happening. Like, girls are getting checked into mental health. Like, young women and girls are going into mental health clinics and having like anorexia and bulimia problems and self-image problems and self-harm issues. It's gone through the roof, dude. Boys have become increasingly more and more isolated. The average young boy, I think they don't like. I think I heard something. Don't quote me on this, but I think the average young boy, like, they don't even have one friend, like one close friend anymore, because they're spending all their time online, so they don't need to physically hang out with a real person. So they might have tons of people they know, but they don't have like that homie they hang out with every day. Like, you know, when you were a kid, you probably had a few homies that you'd hang out with.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, that was like we would go out and like we'd be like 15 years old and we weren't into the best stuff. We were like drinking and smoking weed at 15, but I mean, still, it was more freedom, though. You know,
you're not supposed to sit on Xbox and not experiment and not, you know, like obviously, like it's parents are supposed to stop their kids from doing that and try to get them to not to do that. Like I can understand, but at the same time, that is what kids do, and they're supposed to kind of experiment and figure things out. And kids aren't doing that as much anymore. It's not that it's not happening at all, but what they need to start doing is they need to put laws on this shit. Like, they need, like, a kid needs to be 16 years old. I think, like, because 18 is a little harder. 16, that's a little more like, and even that might be hard, but like, dude, they shouldn't allow smartphones in schools. They should have like a locker that they have to put them in. Like, how are these kids supposed to learn if they've got their phone with them everywhere they go? And it's showing. These kids are getting stupid from this shit, dude. And it's all our phones, and it's all AI doing it. AI is trying to make us inept, make us fucking idiots. So it's like, whoa, you don't know how to do anything? Well, let me just tell you how. I got this app. Here's how to keep your house clean. Here's how to get a good job. Here's how to plan your future. Like, and that's where it starts. And it gets to where I'm going to help you get into the right good college. It starts there, and it ends with, you can't date that person because you're going to date this person or marry this person, and you're going to have exactly three children. Like, you know what I mean? It tells you exactly what you're going to do, where you work, where are you going to go. Like I said, even your free time, what you do in your free time, it tells you. It tells you what you're going to do to relax. Like, that's the point it gets to. And you know, maybe that's not the extinction of humanity literally, but philosophically it is. We're not us anymore. We're a robot at that point. Like,
I definitely see a different like there's a difference between the generation now and the when I grew up. You know what I mean? There's
I'm not trying to condemn like it's not their fault for one thing, like these kids, and it's not that they don't have any qualities or any good things. I think that a lot of the younger generation is because of TikTok, they're questioning a lot more because like that app isn't filtered. I think that's why the government's scared of it, not because it's China mining our data. I mean, Facebook is doing that. Like, for America, what's the difference?
They'll say that. They'll say it's China because they want to stop the app. Because now they have. Did you see they have like spiritual talk?
That's not happening. Like, maybe China is harvesting our information and learning about us, but still, like, you can't ban something.
Our government's doing that to us anyway. So why does it matter if China is, right? I mean, like,
and I think the real thing is they just don't want something where people can get unfiltered information, and like, you know, for instance, like the news will come up with something like, hey, this happened, and then people like, I'm literally there right now. Oh, this is what's going on. Like with Hawaii, for instance, we saw that with the microwave weapons in Hawaii. Like, I saw this guy who he was just like a real estate agent in Hawaii. This guy's like a multimillionaire, And after that, his whole life was just making YouTube videos about, dude, this was a fucking terrorist attack. This wasn't a natural phenomenon. Like, that's the kind of stuff that they're scared of. That's why they want to shut down TikTok and apps. And the thing about Facebook is it's so damn controlled. Like, us truthers, we see each other's posts, but they make sure that your friend that might see it and they're on the fence and they might be like, they're going to make sure that they don't see that. They keep everybody in an echo chamber. That's what the AI is doing. It keeps everybody in their own echo chambers, and it's separating us. It's dividing us. People have never been more divided. And why? So we can be at each other's throats, fuck everything up, have the world fall apart around us, and then who comes in as the savior? The AI. What is it called? It's the Hegelian dialect or whatever. That's that, like, we're, a problem reaction solution.
Yeah.
That's what the fucking AI is doing right now. Like, it's making our youth so inept that they're going to need AI apps in order to live normal lives. They're going to need an AI to tell them what to do, because they're going to be so socially inept and just not have a lot of the skills that they need. Like, I don't know if I'm like exaggerating this maybe a little more than I need to be, but I do think it's like a real issue. Like, these kids, like they're not equipped to handle like a lot of things that they need to handle, especially with it was already bad. 2015 was the tipping point to where they put the cameras in the phones, and that's when you saw a lot of the mental health stuff happening with kids and just everyone in general going down, like depleting. But I forgot what I was going to say. I'm distracted. What was I going to say?
I was going to say, do you want me to see if there's a couple questions? Like we can take a couple questions. Like,
for sure. I think I'm just kind of
so guys, you've heard everything Arkheim has to say. If you have a good question, put it in the chat and we'll get to it. And we'll definitely get to it. Yeah. But I was going to ask you, was that you? I thought I saw on Facebook who quoted on Terrence Howard on Joe Rogan. Did you like that?
I didn't quote it. I watched it. I found it really interesting. Because everybody's talking about it, so I watched it.
I watched it last night too. I didn't understand what he was talking about. I don't know a lot about it.
There's a lot. It's definitely interesting. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, some people are like, "This guy's full of shit. He doesn't know what he's talking about."
Like at the end when he was getting into conspiracies, I did, but like all the Tesla stuff that he was talking about, and then the advanced like physics and chemistry and all that, like I didn't understand. I was kind of like way past me.
I don't know. Like, a lot of people are saying he's totally full of crap. Like, I don't know. I don't claim, but like 1 × 1 = 2 instead of 1 is a huge thing. Like, I feel like that might be more of a philosophical question than an actual, like, 1 is true and 1 isn't true. Like, you can decide your reality, right? So I don't know. It's an interesting point that he makes with that. I don't know, dude. I do know that when he talked about like tones and frequencies and how it's like this is a fifth of that and da da da. Yeah, that's how reality works. I do think he's right about a lot of the stuff he's talking about. But he does seem like a real genius. I think people are saying, "Oh, there's no way he could remember being in the womb." How do you know? Like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe he does remember that. Like, he seems like a really intelligent guy. That's what I mean. He definitely seems very intelligent. If he's not telling the truth, he's really good at making himself sound like he's telling the truth.
Yeah, this first one's from Emma the Cat and Friends. She says, "How many time travelers do you think are currently in this time-space reality?"
At least 10,000. At least, maybe millions. I don't have the exact numbers, but I know that there's at least 10,000. I would say, because there's a lot of people involved in this. It's huge, and it's more. And another thing too is like Time Corporation's kind of built Earth as a colony, built Earth up as a colony in a lot of ways. Like for instance, like if people know anything about Tartaria and
I love talking about Tartaria,
the Cabbage Patch Kids, and the clone and the orphan trains and the orphanages. That's clones. That's replacing the population with clones, which happened on Centurion 5, and I actually was an orphan, a Cabbage Patch Kid on Centurion 5. I've lived out lives where I was a Cabbage Patch Kid on Centurion 5, which is actually what I originally was going to talk about, was one of those lives, but I figured the AI, we'll have to talk about that on another show because it's a whole story. But it's so much more common than people think it is. Like, I'll give a couple examples. Like, my friend Ben lived in Nashville, Tennessee. It's going to seem kind of out of nowhere, but it's not. And his neighbor was this professor of music at the college down there, NYU or whatever, National University, or not NYU, that's New York, but one of the colleges down there. He's a professor of music, and we went over there hanging out. He's got like grand pianos and Gibson guitars and stuff like that. We're all musicians and stuff, so we're jamming with this guy. He's super cool, and we're having a few beers and stuff and smoking a little bit of pot. And he kind of says, like, while we're hanging out, like just kind of out of nowhere, he's like, yeah. It's kind of wild. I shouldn't really be here. Like, I'm kind of like a contradiction, like an anomaly. Like, my mom's from the future. And I was like, what? Yeah. My mom's from like the 2300s. And I was like, oh, that's wild. I was part of the Project Phoenix too. Have you ever heard of that? It's like, nah, I don't know what that is. Like, basically, I'm a time traveler. Like, I was in time travel projects. It's like, huh. And I could tell that because he ran a party, and I could tell that he says this stuff all the time, and people just go on with it and don't be like, what? Like, he was shocked by all the fact that I was actually like, oh, really? Your mom's from the future? And just wasn't weirded out by it at all. And I could tell he didn't want to talk more about it, so I didn't bring it up. But you know what I mean? I could tell by his body language that he was freaked out that I actually took him seriously. But yeah, and then there's another thing somebody commented in my comments. Sorry, I can't remember who you are, but they basically said that their doctor, they have a physician that they went to, was like, yeah, I was in the battle of 1812. They sent me there to help people and save lives and stuff. And if you don't believe me, there's a tree. And he told her where it was, and he's like, go there. I have my inscription in it. And he explained that time works in layers. It's not linear. And so it's just.
What do you think of Bashago? Like, did you ever listen to Bashago on Art Bell or on? You interviewed him? Oh, yeah, you got to interview Andrew Bashago?
Yeah, have you interviewed him yet?
Not yet. No, I haven't. I'd love to get a hold of him.
Dude, he's not going to live that much longer. He's not in good
Dude,
health.
can you get him to come on my show? We can interview him together, and you can use it on your channel too. I'd be honored.
I think you need to do it with just you, and I'll help you do that, man. You really deserve to have him on your show. You work so hard, and I'm sure you'd be honored to be on your show, man.
I'd do it with you, honestly. I tried getting a hold of him. I can't get a hold of him for whatever reason. Like I tried reaching out to him.
Phone number?
No, I don't have
his phone number. I have his actual phone number.
Oh, dude, I would love to interview him. I think he was one of the first real people to come out about time travel that like was legit with Project Pegasus and doing those Mars missions for the government.
It was definitely grounding to interview him because it's like a time traveler. Like, I gaslight myself all the time. I have imposter syndrome. I'm like, I'm making this all up. I am full of shit.
No, you're a time traveler. I mean, like he was older than you though. That's the only thing.
Where you're like, this can't be real. Like, people talk about, like, people have like really nice jobs. Sometimes they think they have imposter because they're like, why do I deserve this nice life and this nice job and stuff? Like, it's just kind of like this like feeling of like, how can this be real, right? I have that a lot with this because it is wild, man. It's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, but I do know it's true, and like, I think it's also a self-protection thing, like by being like, what if this isn't real? Like, sometimes that helps protect me. It's harder and harder to do now, the deeper I get into this, but yeah. Any more questions in the chat though?
Yeah. There's a couple more. This one's from Don Rogers. He says, does he think the SSP is a stage of consciousness or past lives or densities or all the above?
Secret space programs are just like, this is the easiest way to explain it. Our government figured out how to open up portals. Not, different government agencies figured that out. When you open up a portal, you can go anywhere in time and space. Past, future, it doesn't matter. Everything is in one place at that point once you are able to step through portals. And so all it is the military does not limit themselves to linear time. That's what the secret space programs are. Is the military it's using time travel, and it's kidnapping people. It's putting them in clone bodies. It can use you for your whole life. So they can take you for your whole life, and put you through a clone body or whatever, and then bring you back, and you don't even know. That's free labor. That's slavery, and you can do a lot with that. You can build entire planets up and entire societies, and they do. So it's not a stage of consciousness. It is past lives technically, because it's lives that you live, but it's confusing because it's like, my timeline. It's kind of like Tony Rodriguez did it at Journey of Truth, where he showed like his timeline, and it's so screwy because it's like you're here, and then you're over there, and then you're here again, and then you're over there, and then you're here again, and you're over there. So it's like but it's not past lives, because sometimes you're in the future and sometimes it's all one big. I look at it as one big conglomerated thing. And again, I really do think it's important that people understand that while they send people to alternate realities, and what they'll do these swaps where they'll send someone from one reality, like here's this guy, here's this guy. Okay, he's going to his reality, he's going to his reality. Okay, now they're working, they're doing SSP stuff. All right, they're done. Now this guy goes back to his reality, and this person goes to their reality. Okay, now they get memories back. This guy over here is talking about over here, and this guy over here is talking about over there. So there's no leaked intel. So that's how the alternate realities are being utilized. It's all being done in the alternate reality, Omega reality that the Masons know about. That might as well be a fucking fairy tale because it doesn't affect our reality at all. I don't claim to be well versed into that narrative, but I don't really need to be because I know it's all bollocks. But yeah, I just it's sure, like it's kind of hard to explain because like there are densities involved too. Like there's higher density beings. Like Daryl kind of talks about being brought up to fifth density. Although I don't remember ever having to do that. I don't know how it works. Maybe some people can do it on their own. Because
Bryson just made a really good comment about time. He said time is a sphere. I put it up on the screen. It's not a line. It's more like an ocean that surrounds a planet. I like that. That's
that
like
makes sense too. And I do think that there's a big aspect to, you know how like we have such like Earth is isolated from Mars. Mars is isolated from Earth. Is isolated from Venus. And we're isolated from the breakaway planets. Think about how much more complicated time missions would be if we're all communicating. Think about how much harder it would be to like do time travel missions and keep everything in the right place or whatever. If all these worlds were it gets so much, because some planets are aware of each other and are doing stuff. And trust me, the time travel warfare gets so much more complicated once you're in an intergalactic federation. It gets crazy. Whereas when it's just on one planet, and this planet's timeline isn't really affecting the timelines of the planet. That's part of the reason why they do it. They keep things isolated so it's easier to control it. But yeah, time is definitely not a linear thing. It's yeah.
Yeah, we have two more questions that I found. This one's from the Andromeda, and he says, "Does Armed Team know about the Scorpion Corporation?" I've never heard of that in SSP. Like,
I think it's a time corporation, and I'm pretty sure that they might have even owned Montauk. Actually, they might have even been the people behind Montauk. Don't quote me on that, but I know like Montauk was just a time corporation. Like it was just a time corporation, and Scorpion Corporation, I've heard of it before. And I'm pretty sure that it's a time corporation, and like Montauk either like worked for or with them or something like that at one point. Don't quote me on that, but it's super familiar.
Do you think they were using something like the chronovisor or what like they talk about that, or do you think they were using like the looking glass technology? Or
they didn't need to. They just used remote viewing. You just sat in the trip chair and you could see anywhere in time and space.
Wow, so it's like really advanced remote viewing.
Yeah, they actually used people. They would edit events in history. They would in the trip chair. They would. And I remember one of the people that would do it too. And actually, you're part of the group of kids that they would have to do this kind of stuff. I've told you more than once they are at Montauk. You were part of the group of kids that were so psychic that they keep them in their own little group.
Wow.
Yeah, like I'm telling, I keep on bringing up while you're there, and it's something that I feel like we should have a chat sometime with other Montauk survivors and stuff. But I just remember that
I'll look into it for real. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it would explain a lot about why you're so fascinated with this and all that stuff. But anyway, they actually had the ability with the trip chair you could jump into somebody's body during events in history and you could change their decisions. And so that was the thing that people would do is they would edit events by jumping into a king's body and making him order the troops to turn around or whatever the hell it was. And then by the time that they woke up and realized that something weird happened, it was too late. Their troops were already coming back or whatever it was. You know what I mean? So we would edit history by doing that. And that's how is anybody supposed to figure out what's going there and stop that? Like, how would anybody guess, oh, he got possessed by a time traveler that was sitting in a chair in the future? Oh, that's how it happened. You know what I mean? But that's the technology that they would use.
I mean, I've always loved time travel. I used to listen to all the old Art Bell shows on time travel, and I used to love Back to the Future. And I just love the idea of time travel, like being able to go back.
There's a lot of Easter eggs in time Back to the Future. There's a lot of stuff that they try to show you, like the main character.
Dude, there's a huge Mandela effect. His guitar Did you see how his guitar changed over time? Like it was like I remember it being like a Fender or something back in the day, and now it's like this little like ukulele type thing. It's strange. Or someone showed me it. The guy Brian Staley from Dose of Reality, he does only Mandela effects. He came on my show and showed me it. I was blown away. I was like, I don't remember his guitar looking like that for sure. That's definitely a Mandela effect. It's definitely a Mandela.
That movie was actually kind of like a CIA, because the CIA and the military controls all the movies. They put that out on purpose because they knew eventually the public was going to need to understand time travel. And so that's literally them explaining to you how it works. It's like a science lesson. That's what those movies are. It's a Hollywood science lesson for people so they can understand time travel and what's going on. And
also, the terrorist van too changed over time too. The terrorist van's a Mandela effect too, like the one that the Iranians come up in when they come to kill Doc McFly and Marty. That's different now. It used to be he asked me, he's like, what do you remember? I was like, I can't remember. I thought it was like a old school terrorist band, and it's something different. It's like a Winnebago now or something. It's strange, man. It's weird that a time travel movie would have weird Mandela effects like that, you know?
Another thing that's interesting, I think, is like, so the antagonist in the second movie is based on Donald Trump. Steven Spielberg has publicly talked about that, about how the main character for Back to the Future 2 is based on Trump. And Steven Spielberg is like a high level Satanist who knows about the programs and stuff like that. And
it's so funny to say that Steven Spielberg's a high level Satanist. He is, though. I mean,
he's a terrible human being. He's done absolutely atrocious things. He hurts children. And
no, that's horrible. That's horrible. Yeah, that's horrible. I agree. That's
a sick monster. In the original, Indiana Jones, they were gonna have the girl be like 12 years old or something like that, and the guy be like a fully grown man. That's
horrible, man. That's sick.
Yeah,
that's sick.
And there's all sorts of stuff going on with Steven Spielberg. There's this guy, a YouTuber, Sloan, who's like a pretty normal Hollywood gossip kind of YouTuber, but he's exposing a lot of these really dark people, which is good, I think. And he did a whole video on Steven Spielberg that people can check out, where it's like, it's not just like weird, like, because some people talk about it, like Daryl James has told me about some of the stuff that he did, but it's really him just saying it. He doesn't really have evidence, but there's actually a lot of evidence out there about what Daryl James told me. Like it's all there. The proof is there if you look. But no, like with E.T., that Mexico alien that got unveiled, that looks exactly like the E.T. alien, because the E.T. alien is real. It's based on a real alien, that he actually has seen. And same thing with the Trump thing. I think he knows that Trump is a time traveler. I don't know if people have heard about
It was Trump's uncle, right? That Trump's uncle found the files of Tesla. He got all the files of Tesla when the FBI raided Tesla. Tesla died. The FBI raids his office, but somehow it's Trump's uncle that goes in there, gets all the files, and then supposedly he becomes a time traveler, and that's why the Trump today knows so much.
There's a book about Baron Trump that's from like the early 1900s and stuff. And how
that's so fascinating to me.
The United States and stuff. It's pretty weird. And I know a lot of people say like we're either really like Trump and they think he's great, or they think he's just this evil piece of shit. I'm kind of like, I'm kind of in the middle where it's like he did a few good things. He also did a lot of shitty things. And
I think I don't know if you're like me, but I'm just like totally against politics. Like I don't.
Yeah, that's kind of how I am too. Like I sort of think that voting is giving your consent to these people. It's saying,
yes,
and I'm letting you delegate my life. And these Trumpers who are like yelling freedom, it's like, how can you yell freedom when you have a king? He's your king. You've made him
exactly.
King.
That's exactly the point I'm trying to make. Like, you can't let the government control your life.
Yeah,
whether you think they're benevolent or not, nobody else always has benevolent intentions. You know what I mean? So
he's not gonna be. I don't know. It's very naive for people to think that he doesn't have any selfish interests or anything like that, but that's a whole nother subject, and I don't mean to harp on people. Like, there's people who support Trump that support me, and it's a weird thing because I don't really like Trump, but hey, whatever, but I don't want to like harp on that issue because it's like it's kind of like the big distraction right anyway, talking about Trump. Like for presidents, all anybody ever talked about is all the stuff he was doing. It was kind of entertaining though. Like I remember like he'd say like crazy shit on Twitter at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And
I know, right? He had to be
oh
on
my
drugs.
God,
He had to be on.
this
He's on all the
guy.
drugs or something. Like he's like nobody tweets like that at 3 a.m. Like Conor McGregor does because he's usually fucked up on something. You know, the UFC fighter. But like so, you know, so I would say the same thing about Trump. He has to be on something to be tweeting at 3 a.m.
Well,
Who thinks
one
like
of the
that?
dudes who worked with him on the Princeton said he liked Adderall, like he was snorting Adderall. So I don't know.
I heard about that too. I heard there's a picture of him and he had Provigil behind his desk. If you know what that is, it's like a stimulant. It's like a
Whenever people use drugs, like some people use drugs, I don't think that's big of a deal as long as you can function, whatever. You know, I'm not against it, but I try to limit them as much as possible. Coffee and marijuana are the only ones that I really like.
Yeah, this is a good quote from Emma. Emma says, I find Trump to be entertaining and funny. Me
That was a
too.
big part of it, right? It was like a big show, you know, kind of got us all entertained and distracted. And to be fair to people, like I don't like Biden. Like, don't think the guy's an idiot. He's almost seems like a zombie that they pop up on stage, like sticks behind him or something. He
said he wanted to nuke. They told him there was a hurricane coming to the coastline. He said, "Let's nuke it." I don't know if he was joking around or if he was serious. Like, you know what I mean? But I'll do one more question. This is from Jamie. She says, Rob, what if some of us at higher frequency and higher dimensions doing timeline jumps? Do we change the reality here for others too? Do you feel that way, that maybe there's some star seeds here at higher frequencies, at higher dimensions doing timeline jumps?
All the realities are interacting with each other and our fates are maybe a little intertwined. And I know that also, like, we have a bunch of different timelines. Max Spears talked about this. And, you know, I realized this before I heard Max Spears talk about it. I realized it independently and then got verified through a Max Spears interview I heard, where we have a lot of timelines that are separate right now that eventually are going to merge into the same timeline again. And that's a lot of what the Mandela effect is merges that are happening. And then it was slightly different over here. So, but they're merging. And so, I don't know. Yeah, we can change the reality here. And hire people going to do, I don't know exactly what the question is, but I would say that higher frequency and higher dimensions definitely are sending their help, their love, their vibrations down, I don't know, into our reality, and higher density beings and realities are definitely interacting with this one in a lot of ways, but also in the same way lower nefarious beings are definitely come to play as well. But yeah,
one thing you mentioned was Max Spears. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. That
was over. But what about Max Spears?
I love the Max Spears story. So I reached out to his mom, and I got to interview his mom.
Yeah,
me and Nate.
It was a great interview.
I didn't know. Yeah, but the important thing is she thinks he really got killed. Like, she doesn't think it was a drug overdose.
Yeah. We know how he got killed. You know, there's been people whistleblowers who have publicly talked about it and admitted to doing it. Like, there's people, but I don't want to go into that though, because it's a dark subject and a lot of people get really upset when you talk about Max.
Yeah, he's just a beacon for like what was, you know, like he's like I like Max a lot, you know. I like his
Montauk. I don't know how many viewers and listeners know that, but he was a Montauk time soldier. I knew. Yeah. I actually didn't like him because we always wanted to be with the same woman and we're kind of in competition. And his nickname at Montauk, because he was very good with the ladies, they called him Casanova.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Casanova, because he's quite the suave gentleman.
Wow, that's fascinating.
And he still was in the here and now too. He was, you know, women loved him and still do. You know, they mourn over his death, but they should. He was a great guy. I mean, he was an absolutely incredible human being.
Yeah. Well, this has been amazing, man. I don't want to keep you too, longer. Do you want to tell everybody where they can find you? And thank you so much. This was awesome.
Okay, so let's also make sure before we end this, right? We're both
the conference.
Yeah, we're going to be at the conference. It's the Full Disclosure Now conference, fulldisclosuremovement.org if you want to find out all the information on it. There are tickets still available. If you reach out to me for a limited amount of people, I can do 2 for 1. But
that's awesome, guys.
Yeah, so that's a really good deal. So reach out to me if you're interested in that. You know, obviously star seeds and experiencers take a priority, but who are the kind of people who want to go to this anyway? You all are experiencers and star seeds, so you all take priority, right? But yeah, and I would love to sell some more tickets, see some more faces. I know that one of the reasons why we decided to move forward with that, because obviously there's a lot of bills and stuff like that. But I think something that's deterring some people is like the travel expenses. So we're trying to make it as cheap as possible for people to be able to come out and travel out, because we understand that airline tickets aren't cheap, a lot of times, and people's funds are limited a lot of times.
So guys, I was going to say, what you do real quick is like, if you are friends with someone in the community and you guys are both thinking about coming to this conference, like we're all going to be there, so like you should really come. And like, honestly, if you're friends with someone in the community, get with them and tell Arkheim that you saw my show and that he mentioned the 2-for-1 deal. And then you two can buy a ticket and then you'll get another ticket. So you pay half price, right? Is that kind of what you're saying? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. I'm not sure how many seats I can do that with, but like we're trying to get more people in, and Brian told me about that like just the other day, like to get more people in. So yeah. It's what is it? It's a 15th through the 18th.
15th through the 18th. Yeah.
So July 15th through the 18th, St. Petersburg. Stellar lineup. We got Perry Bradley. We got Asian A from the Far Side Institute. We've got Jessica Jones, the Cryptid Huntress.
Miles Johnston from the Basis Project,
who was a friend of Max Spears. So,
Carrie Cassidy's going to be there.
I'm really interested.
It's a banging lineup, guys. It's really going to be awesome. It's going to be insane.
And it's the first time that I'm ever speaking with a full presentation. And what I'm going to be talking about, I think the name of it, I might get it slightly off, but it's Clones, Consciousness Transferal, and Time Travel. And it's basically just explaining how the programs work. But I also I have Alondra Markman, who's going to be speaking with me, and he can testify. He's basically, we're both Montauk survivors, and we were going to speak separately, but we thought it'd be more powerful if we kind of shared our presentation and did it together, especially with the amount of speakers that we had, to make more room for other people. We figured that would be like a good way to make more room for more people to kind of share their story and talk. So yeah, I'm really excited that Alondra Markman's going to be speaking with me, because he has a lot of great testimony and he's a very grounded individual, and he's a healer, so he can kind of help elaborate the whole healing aspect of this. And it's not all doom and gloom, right? Like there's healing that is occurring here with us talking about these things. So, but yeah, I look forward to seeing the people who do come out. I look forward to meeting you in person, Rob. It's going to be awesome.
Me too. It's going to be really fun.
Like, what are you doing at the event? Like, you're not really speaking. You're just kind of hang out, emceeing or something?
I'm going to be I'm on the live stream team, he told me.
All right.
Whatever.
Perfect.
So I'll be working, basically. I'll be doing what I do there.
Yeah. And that's great, because people will be able to meet you in person and talk with you. And
yeah, I think we're riding down. What's interesting is we're riding down. There's like a bunch of us. Like I know, like me and my friend Maya, she's speaking from SOSQHT. Like we might be driving down together. And then my friend Nate, Nate that comes on podcast, Nathan Sizek, he told me to tell you hi, by the way. He's going to drive down with us. And then also, who else? We might be picking up Tommy Edwards, the target individual who comes on my show. He's coming, and then we'll be picking up Angel Lori too. So there'll be a caravan of us like coming down, like from all the way from Boston to Pittsburgh, the whole way down to Virginia to come and finally meet in Florida. It'll be. I hope it works out that way too. It'll be dope. And Angel Lori's dog Thor. I can't forget about him too. So, so it'll be a cool
awesome
group.
I'm really looking forward to meeting you all in person.
Yeah. So it'll be a Sandy Songjoy says, yes, a bang lineup, music, beaches, love, all you do. Yeah, you're right, Sandy. It's going to be an amazing conference.
Yeah, apparently I'm also playing a set at this thing. So
are you?
Yeah, I'm going to play music.
What are you going to play?
I haven't decided yet. Like, I think that electronic would be the way to go. Like, I do electronic, like live looping and stuff. But
like house music, you mean? Or
synthwave?
Okay, what's that? I don't know. I might be a little bit old.
On YouTube after the synthwave.
Yeah,
there'll be like a bunch of playlists and stuff.
I know you're like the music guy. Like, I mean, I love music my whole life. I used to be into like electronic back when I was a kid. I used to listen to I used to be a raver, so I was always into like house and techno and shit like that. But like, I've never heard of synthwave. I gotta. What Simo says, play retro wave. I don't know what you guys mean by all these waves. I gotta get with it, man. I'm not with it.
All these waves. What's all these waves about?
I'll be surfing some waves though in Florida. Hopefully, like
Yeah.
that's one thing I know. Like I'm hoping to get at the beach and I don't know, see some senoritas and margaritas.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right. Oh yeah, Tommy played. They said Flix Love said jam with Tommy. Tommy Edwards, the target individual. He's a musician. He played for Virginia. He's that's why he's targeted. He came out against the CTE in football, and then he started becoming like hard. But he's been in the programs but since before that. Like he was like in it because it's a long story, but it's interesting for sure. But yeah. Well, this has been amazing, man. And the website for the conference, guys, is fulldisclosuremovement.org. That's where you can get your tickets and all that stuff. And yeah, it's going to be awesome. Well, thank you, Arkheim. And yeah, do you have any final words? Do you want to tell people your YouTube and all that?
Yeah, it's Disclosure Now with an exclamation point on YouTube. My channel is Disclosure Known at Disclosure Known. And I guess my message for the end of this is it's really important that we put down these phones and we stop letting them eat our time and our lives. And it's reading your mind, it's subjugating your reality, and it's controlling people's minds in the way where they're not seeing what's real and what isn't. We saw that very big time with the pandemic. Think about how many people just live in a fairy tale world where they, you know what I mean? It's really not dangerous. People need to start realizing how dangerous these smartphones are and how negatively they're impacting our lives and start doing something about it. That's my message for the end of this is that's how the AI seeps its way into our lives. It starts with our phones. It's already doing it. Put down the damn phone. Go on walks and don't bring your phone. Live in the real world. There's never going to be anything better or more important or more substantial and tangible than real life relationships, like going out to the club and meeting new friends and going out in the actual streets and tipping somebody busking in the street or whatever. Living real life in the real world, not in these internet spaces, is what human beings are supposed to do. And so start doing that, people. Start living out in the real world more and put the goddamn phones down, for Christ's sake. I'm sorry, that was real bad language at the end there.
That's okay.
Especially with the C word, I do believe that I kind of, not to end with a weird thing, but I kind of think the reason why you're not supposed to say that word is because he actually will show up and you say, and it's to divide his attention to make it harder for him to focus, because I feel like it's a real being. So I try not to say it, but I still end up, it's such a habit I got to break. But anyway, yeah, stay away from the phones. Get off the phones. You delete your Facebook. I'm not kidding. Delete your fucking Facebook. Delete it. Get rid of it. You don't need it. It's not. Everybody else is on it though. Everybody else is making their life better with AI. A robot is telling them what to do, and the robot got them to Harvard. Think how crazy that is. Don't let that happen. That's my message.
Yeah, if any guys drawing motivation for my podcast, AI never influenced me in any way to do this podcast. Everything comes from me naturally. I figure out the guests on my own. Everything Arkheim does, it comes natural. He's been involved in programs though, so it's different. He has real life experience in the programs, but everything we do is we're not letting AI affect our lives. So that's a really good point.
And we have a choice, and right now is the time that we make the choice. It's a very pivotal moment in human history, so let's make the right choice, people.
All right. Well, thanks, man. I'll talk to you soon. I'll send you this file after it's sent right now. Thanks.